Be honest. Can you tell me anything about the following people? Annie Jump Cannon, Jocelyn Bell Burnell, Henrietta Swan Leavitt, Wilhemina Fleming, Maria Mitchell, Ruby Payne Scott, Nancy Roman, and Vera Rubin. Okay, how about the following list? Nicholas Copernicus, Johannes Kepler, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Stephen Hawking, William Herschel, Christian Huygens, Carl Sagan, and Edwin Hubble. My guess is that you recognize at least 6 or 7 people on the second list and could probably tell me the major contribution of at least 5 of them. I'd also wager that from the first list, the average recognition would be 1 or 2, and that most people, even the ones that you recognize the names, you probably wouldn't be able to tell me what they did. Okay, it's pretty obvious what I'm driving at here. I'm not known for my subtlety. Unless you think that I'm comparing some list of minor, little-known female astronomers with some chosen male big names, here are the contributions of each of the people on the first list. Annie Jump Cannon, who lived from 1863 to 1941, is responsible for our currently used stellar classification scheme, where stars are classified by their temperature and spectral output. So on Star Trek The Next Generation, when Commander Data says that it's a typical Class M star, yeah, that's Annie Jump Cannon's work right there. And did I mention that in addition to her being female during a time when female scientists were virtually unheard of, she was also almost completely deaf? Remember that next time you think you have a lot of obstacles to overcome. Jocelyn Bell Burnell, who was born in 1943, is an astronomer from Northern Ireland who was responsible for discovering pulsars in 1967. Her claim that pulsars were rapidly rotating neutron stars was dismissed at first by most scientists, and in fact some of them even derided the data itself, saying that the flashing lights she saw were LGMs, little green men. Worse, she wasn't even included in the Nobel Prize that went in 1974 to the other people, all male, who contributed to the explanation of pulsars. Her other awards are, however, too numerous to list here, and her exclusion from the Nobel pissed off enough people that it at least opened some eyes to the plight of female scientists. Henrietta Swan Leavitt, who lived from 1868 to 1921, was the astronomer who was responsible for discovering a seemingly trivial fact, which was that a certain type of variable star, called a Cepheid variable, has a period of oscillation that is directly proportional to its intrinsic brightness. Now, this may seem like a so what, but Henrietta Swan Leavitt very quickly realized that because the pulsation rate of the variable star told you how bright it actually was, it could be used as a standard candle. In other words, a light source of known brightness, which tells you how far away it is. Scientists now routinely use Cepheid variable pulsation rates to figure out how far away distant galaxies are, and that one discovery was intrinsic to figuring out that the universe is expanding. Wilhemina Fleming, who lived from 1857 to 1911, was a Scottish astronomer who discovered literally thousands of astronomical objects, including the now famous Horsehead Nebula. She was one of the founding members of the Harvard Computers, a group of women who were responsible for doing mathematical calculations on the data coming from Harvard Observatory. She started this group after she noted that the calculations coming from their male counterparts could have been bettered by her housekeeper. Maria Mitchell, who lived from 1818 to 1889, was an American astronomer whose contributions were so numerous that I could spend literally an hour just telling you about those. She was the first female professor of astronomy at an American college, Vassar, the first female to write a column in Scientific American, and directed Vassar's observatory for 20 years. She came up with the first good explanation of sunspots, was a pioneer in figuring out stellar composition, and found, amongst other things, a comet before it was visible to the naked eye. She was also an incredibly inspiring teacher. 25 of her students went on to be listed in Who's Who. Here's a quote from Maria Mitchell. "I cannot expect to make astronomers, but I do expect that you will invigorate your minds by the effort at healthy modes of thinking. When we are chafed and fretted by small cares, a look at the stars will show us the littleness of our own interests." Ruby Payne Scott, who lived from 1912 to 1981, was an Australian astrophysicist. She was the first female radio astronomer. She was the first to link sunspots to solar storms. She was also responsible for developing radar to detect enemy planes during World War II. She was not only an astronomer, but a gifted physicist and electrical engineer, and used all three in her research. But she became so frustrated with limited opportunities for women in science that in 1963 she resigned and became a secondary school teacher. But she never stopped fighting for women's voices in science. In 2008, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organization started the Payne-Scott Award. It was designed to help women in science, especially those returning to research after maternity leave. Nancy Roman, who lived from 1925 to 2018, was an American astronomer who was one of the first female executives at NASA. She's been nicknamed the Mother of Hubble for her contributions to the Hubble Space Telescope. She did pioneering work in calculating stellar velocities, all of this despite being actively discouraged from pursuing a career in science, most notably by a high school counselor who objected when she said that she wanted to take algebra instead of Latin. The counselor sneered, "What kind of lady wants to study mathematics instead of Latin?" Well, this lady would. She went on to be awarded 4 honorary doctorates in addition to the one that she earned. She was awarded the Exceptional Scientific Achievement Medal from NASA and a fellowship from the American Association for the Advancement of Science, as well as many other awards. Vera Rubin, who lived from 1928 to 2016, was an American astronomer whose observation of anomalies in galactic rotation rates led to what has to be the weirdest discovery in physics in the last 100 years, dark matter. Her work, according to the New York Times, quote, ushered in a Copernican-style change to astronomy, and after her death, the Carnegie Institute said that the United States had, quote, lost a national treasure. Honestly, it's Rubin who got me to thinking about all of this gender inequality, because recently the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope was renamed the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, and when I posted on social media how cool that was, I had a number of people who said, okay, that sounds great, but who is she? We pride ourselves for how far we've come in terms of equity, but man, we have a long way to go. Famous straight white male scientists become household names. Equally talented people who are women, or people of color, or LGBTQ, are poorly recognized footnotes. I know this isn't a battle that we're going to win overnight, but the dominance of straight white males in science has led to so much stifling of talent and skill and drive that it seems like a terrible waste. And we ought to all be working toward more access and opportunity regardless of our own gender or sexual orientation or racial background. My little exercise in recognition of female astronomers probably won't count for very much, but I'm hoping that it will open a few eyes, invert a few stereotypes, stretch a few boundaries, and any motion that we make in that direction is a good thing. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. Our resources are down there, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.